Welcome to the Aesthetic Doctor Podcast. We don't shy away and keep secrets here. We empower you with education, telling you the truth about all things aesthetic medicine while encouraging you to be the best version of yourself. It's time to look great and feel good doing it. This is your host, mom, speaker, and board-certified physician, Dr. Judith Borger.
Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 62 of the Aesthetic Doctor Podcast. Today, for episode 62, I'm doing something that I've never done before. I am going to give you one of my recent master classes called Money Drama. So this masterclass was incredibly well received, had a huge impact on people from what they messaged me. So I wanted to really share it with all of my listeners. Money drama. What is money drama? Money drama is really all of the thoughts and beliefs that we have about money, some of them conscious, but a lot of them are unconscious. And in this masterclass, we've really explored what some of your own internal money drama is or might be, and some ways that we can get into a more abundant relationship with money. So this episode is really for anybody, whether you own a business, it'll be applicable for any of your private life, because really we all deal with money. Money is one of the energetic and real currencies of our life. So what I'm having my editor Marcia do, and thank you Marcia, and you're wonderful and I love you. But anyway, what I'm having her do is there's a couple prompts that I had in this true masterclass where I would give people a couple minutes to reflect. So when it comes to reflection time, she's just going to cut those out so you're not sitting there bored listening to silence or background music, but you'll get the question. We'll cut right to where the question's over. And if you're in a space where you can stop and reflect and journal, that's wonderful. But I know a lot of you are listening to podcasts when you're driving, when you're walking, when you're doing other things. So I want the flow of it to be good if you're not going to stop and reflect, and maybe you can go back and reflect on some of the questions after. So welcome to episode 62. Please enjoy the Money Drama Masterclass. I'm so excited to hold this masterclass because I really think that money drama is something that we all have. We all have beliefs about money. And really, the beliefs about money influence how we both show up in our businesses, as well as how we show up in the rest of our lives, how we show up with our spouses, and how we make our sort of financial decisions. So we know that money drama is really all of the beliefs we have about money. And like I said, we all have those beliefs. Some of these beliefs we're really, really aware of. Like, I know I feel X, Y, and Z about money, but then there's all of these beliefs that we may have that might be super unconscious. So beliefs about money can be conscious or unconscious. And a lot of times, beliefs about money, especially the unconscious ones, are really a result of wounds that we still have, whether we have like wounds in pride, whether we have wounds from childhood, whether we have wounds about self-worth. All of these wounds kind of sometimes show up in our unconscious beliefs. And then a lot of times history is what influences our beliefs and money. And sometimes that's really early childhood history. Research has shown that early childhood history really influences your money. And what's interesting is now that we know more about trauma and how trauma and stuff gets stored between generations, a lot of times, like, there's really generational beliefs about money that might be ingrained in our DNA. So really, money drama is, what do you think and feel about money? And one of the things that we know, or I think as a society we know, as researchers, as psychologists we know, is that there's sort of thought work. And we know that thoughts that we have influence our feelings, And the way we feel and the way we think, a lot of times that's what leads to our actions and that's what leads to our results. That's sort of one of the classic tenets of any coaching or behavioral therapy that kind of has that cascade of your thoughts. So what you're thinking leads to your feelings, leads to your actions, leads to your results. So the first thing would really always be to become aware of your thoughts, right? Because we have 60,000 thoughts in a given day. And how many times do we really, first of all, question these thoughts and realize that some of these thoughts are just like a narrative and a story in our head? It's not the truth. It's not facts. It's just sort of a narrative that's been ingrained and imprinted there. And my narrative might be very different than your narrative, might be very different from a third person's narrative. However, there's also a different way that cascades works, especially our unconscious thoughts, the ones that are below the surface. And we now know, research has also shown that unconscious thoughts are running a lot of this programming. So unconscious thoughts a lot of times can lead us to have feelings, and then we have these feelings and we attach conscious thoughts to them. So that's another way that loop kind of can work in a little bit of reverse, that you're feeling anxious and then you're kind of making up a story while you're feeling anxious, or you're feeling happy, or you're feeling sad. And instead of saying, I'm just feeling sad, like there has to be a reason, right? So when you think about money, I want you to just take a little bit of time and maybe journal, or maybe think about what are some of the automatic thoughts that come up when I say, oh, let's talk about money. Let's talk about either money in your business, money in your personal life, money in your relationship. So I would want for you to just really take a little bit of time and either journal or reflect on the fact. I'm going to give you just 60 seconds of, what do you think about money when I bring up money? Like, why did you even come to a money drama masterclass? Why are you listening to it? Why are you here? Like, there's something about money. So I'm just going to give you like 60 seconds of just journaling or reflecting on, how do you feel about money and what are some of the thoughts that you have about money. Again, a lot of times with this stuff, it's really good to just notice what's the immediate thing that comes to your head. Like, don't overthink it. Either journal, write it down. Money is, money means, or really what kind of feeling does it evoke? And please, if you have anything that you would love to share, I would love any like kind of sharing of that. And some of the things that were shared here is need to save as much as possible. That's generational. We'll definitely go into generation. And it's like bad or selfish to spend on yourself. I think among women and among mothers, that is definitely a story we hear a lot. Like, you will drop all this money on your kids, but it feels like selfish or bad, or there's this judgment attached to spending on yourself. And then a third thing that kind of is with that is also like your self-worth, or that story of like, what do good mothers do? That's another pattern there to explore. And it's definitely something I think that society also says, like, good mothers put their children before themselves, like, but mothers sacrifice for your children. And I'm not saying that I agree with that. I'm saying it's like one of those things that sometimes society believes. And then, but you can always make more. That is a good like message of hope, that money is abundant, money comes in, like, right? And one of the things that I now have about money is that like money flows through me, that money is kind of a stream, that money is energy, that money just flows, and that it's not necessarily up to me really to like stop the flow of money, which again is like, could be a judgment this way or another way. So the other thing a lot of times want to say is like, is there a specific point in your body where you kind of feel a feeling about money? Because that's the more sort of embodied or somatic approach. The other thing that I want to do is I want to just kind of go over some common money beliefs that might help you, and just for you to notice if any of these like resonate in terms of what might some of your own stories be about money that you either believe in or not, or that might resonate or not. Like some people say money's power. Some other common money stories are money is corrupt, or then more like money is energy. So again, we're coming up with different story. And as you hear them, what I want you to do is just notice which of these resonate and which of these don't resonate. Like another one is money is scarce. There's only so much money. So if you end up making or keeping or having more than X amount, and that X amount can be whatever, like it takes away from other people. Other people can't have it. I know in the past, I definitely had that belief almost of guilt myself that if I was to want more money, that almost that would mean somebody else couldn't have that same money. While now what I kind of think is that the energy of the universe is always expanding. There's always more money being made. And again, obviously, I don't do anything unethical, but if I make more money and I have more money, that doesn't necessarily take away from somebody else. But that was definitely one of my limiting beliefs, that it was almost selfish to have more money, because if I had more money, that it was going to take away from somebody else. Some other common beliefs that may or may not resonate is it takes money to make money. Rich people are greedy. Money can or can't buy happiness, depending on which end of the spectrum you're in. And then like having money is selfish. So money beliefs are ideas, thoughts, and opinions that impact your money behavior. They can either be protective or they can be liberating, right? One of the next things I want you to think about, if you're a business owner and if you want to, like, how's your business affected? I do a lot of aesthetic business coaching, and sometimes I definitely see people that, as I said, are stressed out because there's not enough money, and what if my business goes under, and what if I can't pay my bills, and what if this, that, and the other happens. And then on the other hand, there's this like overspending, like, right, the I need to have this toy and I need to make this money and I need to like have that other thing. So the way people, like, first of all, make purchasing decisions in their business is really affected by their money beliefs. And I want you to just examine them. Like, if you have a business, maybe think about how's your business affected by your money decisions. Or sometimes they will like underpay their employees or not be generous with their employees because they're just so worried that at the end of the day, not enough is left over. And then on the very other spectrum, there's people who are like, as I said, overspending. And then in the end, they're like, oh, whoops, we're like so much in the hole, like we have no way out of it. But I think too many times people, especially as we see also in the online business management or the coaching, they're like, oh, I can't afford this. Like, what if I can't do this? Like, well, really, like the reality of their bank account doesn't really match that. So again, I'm going to give you a minute if you want to think about how's your business affected, if you have a business, or if you don't have a business, like maybe how's your relationship or how's your life affected. All right, I have making sure there's always money to pay employees. I think that's a really good thing. And I wonder, do you mean that as a very good thing, or do you mean that almost as a like sometimes being nervous about like, I need like multiples of the money to make sure that you have money to pay your employees? All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is like, and thank you for reflecting on that. And I think it's just really important as everything like that to like really think about what are our thoughts and how do they affect what we do. So the next thing I want to talk about is really the subconscious mind and how the subconscious mind goes into it. As sort of research and science advances, I think way back when some philosophers and psychologists really stressed the subconscious mind, but now as kind of research is able to capture some of this stuff, we know that the subconscious mind is really like complex and subconscious, right? And what really what happens is that our thoughts and our feelings, first of all, the majority of them actually run subconsciously. There's way more subconscious thoughts and feelings than we ever have than feelings that enter our consciousness. We now know that our thoughts and feelings are shaped by our experiences, by our beliefs, and also by our nervous system. We obviously know about the parasympathetic and the sympathetic, the whole autonomic nervous system. But we know that the nervous system, like, also imprints and patterns in response to the stress. And so one of the things that it patterns in response to is like financial stress, right? And we know that really the nervous system exerts a large amount of control in your body. So one of the things that's an obvious example about money is that, for example, you might have had the stress in childhood of like struggle, financial struggle, or maybe your parents fought about money. And this really caused anxiety and stress at the time in your nervous system. And it's still stored now as sort of that in that subconscious mind, that money now is associated with stress and anxiety, and there might be guilt of having money when your family had to struggle, or every time money comes up. This might be something that's like deeply ingrained now in the subconscious mind. And so, like, your financial decisions now can be affected to your reaction of your subconscious mind, or that stress and anxiety and that nervous system. For example, like, we now know, and I did an episode about trauma a couple years ago, and we now know like the trauma is actually stored and present in the body, and experiences and patterns are stored in your subconscious mind. And that is that cycle where the feeling comes first and then your thoughts and reactions kind of happen after. We also know that stress and anxiety actually like impairs cognitive function and decision making ability. So when you're in a sense of stress and your nervous system is not relaxed, but your nervous system is ramped up, we actually don't make the best choices. We are more reactive. A lot of times we want to get out of that situation, and we want to get out of that feeling, and we actually get activated in our nervous system. What are some of the treatments for that? So number one, I obviously want to say that if there is a lot of trauma, if there's a lot of anxiety and stress, like, I always encourage everybody to get professional guidance and support. Again, I would love to refer you back to that trauma episode where I talked to a trauma therapist about some of the treatments that are available. So I always want to say, as a coach and as a physician, if there's something that's really impacting you to a point that you're having intrusive money about, like, because thoughts can be intrusive and scarred and irrational and all of that, like, please seek professional guidance. But outside of that, the two things that have been shown to help with subconscious repatterning are actually like mindfulness. So to practice being fully present and aware, which is one of the things we're doing actually here. The step one is always the awareness, right? Of our thoughts, feelings, and surroundings. And the most important thing is to do that without judgment, because otherwise you kind of layer stress and guilt, right? Because if you're then feeling stressed or guilty, or judging yourself for like feeling guilty about money, or judging yourself for maybe realizing that, oh wow, I'm having these thoughts of like there's not going to be enough, or I'm having thoughts of if I'm rich I'm greedy, like, right? I think in medicine sometimes we get ingrained that too, that like good doctors should do this like without expecting payments. Good doctors should just want to do this for the good of your heart. Like, I feel like that's one of those things as doctors we get taught. Well, I think you can serve and earn all at the same time, and you should be able to serve and earn. And again, if I say anything that resonates, like, borrow that belief, write it down and read it, because if you read it and you repeat it, your brain's going to accept it as truth. But what sometimes is going to happen is that, let's say we have a guilt or a judgment on something, and then we judge ourselves for thinking that, and then we judge ourselves for judging, and it becomes this whole cascade. So the whole idea about mindfulness in the first step, and one of the reasons I'm doing this masterclass, is that really just be present and aware of your thoughts, feelings, and surroundings without judgment. So it's just oh, this is interesting. I just see it as interesting. Oh, look at this. Here's this belief again that if you ask for payment for the service that you're doing, that you're greedy. Well, that's interesting. Thanks for this opinion, brain, right? And then the second thing is, this is where coaching can be so powerful, and meditation and things like that, is to become more aware of thoughts and feelings again without judgment, and then to challenge the beliefs that no longer serve us. Like, again, to, instead of accepting them as this is what it is or the truth, to say, like, is that true? How could it be possible that I'm not greedy? And then the second thing is about money, because money beliefs tend to be very deep-seated, is to create positive associations and repeat them, right? And then to focus on the abundance it can bring. So let's say if you're somebody who says it's bad or selfish to spend on yourself, or I got to make sure that my employees aren't really worth the money that I pay them with your business, or I'm only like one bad month away from ruin, like whatever your business little thought is to then sort of focus on the abundance and the joy that money can bring in a very healthy way. For example, like, wow, by my doing this, I'm investing in my own wellness and well-being, or even something like, I'm making the mother of my children happy. I'm providing for the families of my employees. I'm creating good in the world. And I also, about business, I have this belief that without money, there's no mission, right? If my business isn't successful and my business isn't profitable, it can't serve its mission. So it's really selfish to not earn and selfish to not be successful. And then also to practice gratitude for the money you have and celebrate your financial success, because it is worthy of celebration. So many of us have really broken through generational barriers. The next thing that I would like to talk about is first of all, does anybody have any questions at this point? And please type them in the chat at any point in time. So the next thing that I would love to talk about is something called money scripts by a psychologist called Brad Klontz. And this is really some of the most up-to-date research on money and money attachment styles, right? We know that there is attachment styles to relationships. There's attachment styles to a lot of things. So Mr. Klontz and some other psychologists have really examined people's attachment styles about money, and they've termed the coin money scripts. And money scripts are really the 4 attachment styles that they have coined about money. And those 4 attachment styles are money avoidance, money worship, money status, and money vigilance. And I'm going to quickly kind of go through them, because again, teaching this master class about money, I really want to also give you some valuable information as well as the mindset piece. So let's quickly go through the money scripts. So the first money scripts they call money avoidance. And basically, money avoidance is sort of like avoidant attachment style, and it is negative ideas about wealth. And it also includes that, like, having less is morally superior or morally more sound, which meaning that having more is morally more corrupt. And people that are money avoidant may unconsciously not allow themselves to do well or save up. So those are the people that kind of self-sabotage some of their success, and those are the people that like self-destruct some of maybe their business success or their financial success. And again, these are subconscious attachment styles. And again, if you might, sometimes it's really a lot easier to see some of those things in other people than yourself. Like, so some of these things you might be like, oh yeah, that is John, or oh yeah, that is my business partner, or that's my dad, or whoever that is. And that's, again, it's really kind of fun and helpful. The second money script is called money worship. And that's exactly sort of the opposite. That's a lot of excessively positive ideas about wealth. So that they basically think that having wealth and having more is the key to solving all their problems and to finding happiness. Basically, this also is that they sometimes overestimate the amount of satisfaction and meaning and fulfillment they're going to get from buying things. The people that want to buy things to have, and they really think that only if they can just make more and more and the most amount of money, like that is the only way to be happy and fulfilled. And if they just reach the next financial goal and have the next thing, then they'll be super fulfilled, and there's no other way to do it. And then the third style of attachment, or the third money script, sorry about that. The third money script per Mr. Klontz is money status. So basically, these are people that conflate their net worth with their self-worth. So the amount of money you have is the amount of worthiness that you have. And these are also people that like to display status items to show people that they have worth. And they also are the ones that are prone to like overspend and have credit card debt, because again, if they don't feel like other people are seeing their worth, or they don't see their own worth, or they can't display their worth, like in their mind, they have no worth independent of their worth. These are also people that grew up often in households with financial struggles, so they later seek their success and their worth as their way to show status and to feel worthy in life. Now, the fourth and final money script is really money vigilance. And basically, these are people that tend to be very wealthy because they don't spend a lot, but they're the people that have higher than average financial anxiety. Somebody who has good money and objectively is not about to like lose their money, but they're like, oh my God, if my savings account drops below this, like surely I'm going to lose my house or my car or my family or anything. And they're just so worried about money, or so worried about losing what they have. And so again, they're very anxious around money. They hoard money because they always feel like it could be taken away at any point in time. And they're very anxious about losing it. And again, a lot of times what attachment style you have is not correlated with the amount in your bank account, okay? And these are also the the money vigilant people are also unable to really enjoy their money, because again, they're kind of so worried about losing it and not having enough that they're not able, even if their bank account shows whatever, they're not able to enjoy it. The other thing that these psychologists really say is that a lot of these scripts start in childhood. So the next thing that I want you to really think about and I want to share after, but I don't want to sort of take it away from somebody. What is your family history with money? Like, what kind of scripts might you have learned in childhood from your parents or your grandparents, or your family history? And why is that? Again, sometimes it's a lot easier to look back and see, like, what are some of the things that you feel like your parents taught you about money? So again, I'm going to give you about 60 seconds to kind of reflect on that and journal if you would like, or put something in the comments. Alrighty, I feel like I was influenced by at least one person from each script as a child, right? And isn't it just fascinating to know this? Like, I always feel like whenever I uncover some of the beliefs, it really helps me grow, because it helps me see them. Like, one of the big ones that I got from my parents was like that you have to work hard for your money. That was one of the things that I got from my parents. Like, you have to work hard for money. Like, that money can't be easy, that money can't flow, right? And so maybe that's also why I chose a profession where you actually have to work really hard for money. Like there was never this, like, you can set up this business and you can scale it and money can be easy or money can be passive. It was always like, you have to work hard to have money. Like, so it was really like hard work, like money couldn't come easy. Like money was something you had to work hard for. And then also another, I'm just going to share like another thing that I got from my parents was also this idea that like money could be lost. And probably it's because they themselves grew up like in this post World War II Germany, that whole idea that like your money could be gone. So, and then you'd have to work hard again, like, right? So it's sort of interesting the more I think about that and how that really influenced sort of me and my business too, that sometimes I just made things hard because I had this belief without even realizing it that like it wasn't going to come easy, that you'd have to like work hard. So if I wasn't working hard, like, of course it wasn't going to happen. Like it couldn't just flow and I couldn't be in my feminine and just receive and attract, which is much more that I feel now. But I had to really like examine that and heal it. And like that belief at some point is probably still there, right? Like, so, ooh, I love all these comments. Okay. So learn the importance of taking care of responsibilities to cover the needs, but also being able to support some of the wants. Like, yeah, that sounds really like a sort of a healthy thing, like of like you got to do the responsible thing. Like we've got to be responsible with money, but then also being able to get some of the wants. So that sounds like a really healthy relationship. Thank you for sharing that. And like heavily the money status. Yeah, that's a big kind of thing. And then the other thing too is like, again, with this, like, so again, always go back to what you believe about money. And the other thing that I sort of recommend, and we might not have time for this now, but if you uncover a belief about money, one of the ways I like to examine it too is to say, how may the opposite be true? Or what evidence in my life have I had that the opposite has been true, right? That like for me, it was the like that I didn't have to work hard about money, that money could follow my passion and could follow my fun. And I think as I've gotten more aligned, that's definitely happened, that I've been very successful in my businesses and my endeavors, even though I put my whole soul in it without being like physically overtired and exhausted and burnt out and overworked, which is how it was always kind of true, and which is probably why I stayed in that system for too long, because I had that belief that money had to be hard, like we had to work hard. Okay, so the last thing that I would like to go over is sort of the mindset abundance theory of the mindset theory of abundance versus scarcity. And this is really one of the things that also governs mindfulness and mindset and coaching principle, that there is an abundance versus a scarcity mindset. Now, let's go over sort of the scarcity mindset first. And the scarcity mindset is really like, there's limited resources. We may not have enough. Like we've got to make sure there's always enough, because we may not have enough and we may run out. And also people with a scarcity mindset, and this might not only be about money, but of course money is a very obvious one, is that focus on what's lacking. And that can also be like associated with fears of personal failure. And then also like a hyperfixation of what could be wrong or what could be lacking. And the result really is that there is an increase in jealousy and also an increase in stress associated with whatever we're feeling scarce about. On the other hand, there is the abundance mindset that says there's always enough. There's plenty of resources for everybody, and that resources are replenishable. And I think earlier somebody commented that you can always make more. Like that is a belief that really leads to an abundance mindset. Even if we lose this one thing, we can always make more. And again, this belief that there are plenty of resources for everyone, which also means that if you win, it doesn't mean that, oh my God, because there's only one pie, that you took half the pie and there's only half left for me. It's really that idea that there's always plenty of resources for everybody. There's not just one pie. And then also abundance mindset is connected to a deep sense of self-worth and security. What that really leads to is that you can show up your best in life, and also that it leads to a spirit of collaboration because we're not competing for resources. We're kind of adding all to that pile that there's enough of. When mindset experts are asked, like, how do you cultivate this abundance mindset? Because you can also see how between abundance and scarcity, that whole feeling is different. And not only like there's never a right or wrong answer, but I think most of us want to feel abundance. We want to feel enough. We don't want to have these fears and stressors, really a lot of times unnecessary, because I don't know about you, but whenever I've like worried about money and woken up worried about money, I mean, I still to this day have not like lost my house or my job or not been able to pay bills or lost my business. But then worst comes to worst, I would figure something else out. Not that I want to do that, like keeping fingers crossed, praying to the gods. But what I'm saying is you're going to be okay. And most of us worry about things that actually are very unlikely to happen, right? For example, saying worry that there's not enough money to pay everybody. I mean, I'm sure up till now you've probably paid everybody, right? So how do you cultivate an abundance mindset? So the first thing, there's 4 steps that experts recommend. And the first thing is really to focus on all that you have, to remind yourself about all that you have. Again, that's this whole principle about focusing on what you've gained and focusing how far you've come versus like, oh, I'm not 2 million yet, I can't retire yet, like, right? Is to focus on all the things that you have. And then secondly, again, seeing that energy and mindset is contagious, is to also surround yourself with other people that have an abundance mindset, that feel like there's enough, that feel like there's always going to be more, and that are open to sort of collaborating and bringing up the collective. The third way to do it is also to train your mind to examine your thoughts, to question your thoughts. And this is where coaching and CBT can really come in. And as you know, I'm a coach, I'm a huge proponent in coaching. And then the fourth way to cultivate an abundance mindset is really to practice continuous gratitude. As research has progressed, we really know that gratitude is very evidence-based. So really to practice gratitude for all of the things that in life, and I will probably in the future at some point do a, what is the Rhonda Barnes? Is it the Secret Challenge, where I go through it step by step with a group of people. But really, like, it's amazing how when you start and end your day with gratitude, how like that actually changes your mind. And sometimes like it seems really cheesy, but it really, really works. So that is really all about how I have about money drama. Money drama from money beliefs explained, examined, and I hope this was super helpful. I just want to give you a couple of like prompts for journaling. And again, the best way to do it is really to even start like money is. Sometimes it helps to write a letter to money and sort of express all of your feelings to money, or to even write a letter from money. Sometimes Liz Gilbert in her coaching does a lot of letter writing, and it really like is interesting if you put yourself in like the possession of money in your life and you write a letter to yourself and then read it out loud, like what it comes up with. And then if you find a limiting belief, to really examine it with curiosity and then see if it's something that you don't want to keep. So sometimes it's just interesting to notice it, like when I notice the money is hard kind of belief, or you have to work hard for money, what that really, how it made me see some choices it makes. And then I can be like, oh, wait, there's that belief again. Or also how has the opposite be true in my life? That is my last tip, to then sort of be like, what evidence is there for the opposite to be true? Because we can find evidence in our lives. And then again, if there's things that you want to examine further, like I love journaling, I love coaching. And with that said, that really wraps up our sort of money drama masterclass. I would love to open it up if anybody wants to say anything, if anybody has any comments. And again, thank you for attending and thank you for participating.
Thank you for listening to the Aesthetic Doctor podcast with Dr. Judith Borger. We'd love to connect with you outside of the show. Follow Dr. Borger on Instagram at Dr. Borger and find more online and ways to work with Dr. Borger at www.theaestheticdoctor.com. Until next time, be well.